Oh, what's up GameLeapers, this is Eeks, and in today's video we are going to be revealing the 15 best top laners for patch 11.24b, and we have a very nice mix of champions here. Some fighters, bruisers, tanks, range, AP, AD, and Camille. Now before we get into the countdown, if you want to master any of the champions we mentioned, make sure to check out the GameLeap website linked in the description and comment section for courses, in-depth guides, and high elo VOD analyses that will show you what the best players in the world do that 99% of players don't. It is guaranteed free low, so get that exclusive access by signing up, and let's get into the video. Now coming in at number 15, one of the strongest top laners, particularly in lower elos, this is Garen. And for Garen at the moment, as you can see on your screen now, the best setup is to actually go with Conqueror. Lethal Tempo might be good into melee champions, but the fact is, because Conqueror is now lasting 5 seconds in terms of the stacking, for Garen it just gives you more opportunities to get to the max stacks, which is 12, and deal more damage and heal for more as well. Now in terms of your build, we're still all about going Berserker Screeds with Stridebreaker and Mortal Reminder, and maxing our E first, because this scales with attack speed. So the attack speed from Greaves and Mortal Reminder make it really difficult for the enemy champions to outduel you, and when you pair this with Flash and Ignite, it makes you a very scary champion to play against. This is why Garen's win rate across the board is around 52-53%, and that's even in higher relos where he may get kited to oblivion, so it just goes to show how good this setup is. But one champion who is having a bit more success than Garen with Conqueror, this is Cassiopeia coming in at number 14, and just like for Garen with the new Conqueror, because it's lasting 5 seconds in terms of the passive, and because Archangel's staff is going to continue to cost 400 gold less than it used to, it puts Cassio in a really strong position. Not to mention the fact that most champions you play against in the top lane are going to be melee champions, so accessing them and dealing damage should be really free. Now even though Crown of the Shattered Queen and even Cosmic Drive got nerfed in last patch, the fact is they're still performing pretty well, especially Crown of the Shattered Queen. The fact that the passive is still going to reduce 75% of an enemy champion's damage to you for a short period of time means that bursty champions and assassins have no option but to avoid you. This makes you one of the strongest champions on the Rift, and because you're a ranged champion in the top lane, the laning phase is free, so you can scale into the mid-late game beast you have always been. But maybe one champion who can really put Cassiopeia in the dirt, this is Aurelia coming in at number 13, and just like her two predecessors, going Conqueror, because the new stacking has put Aurelia in an even stronger position than with Lethal Tempo, which is fine, but you don't really need the attack speed on Aurelia because you have it in your passive, so most of the time this is going to be overkill, so make sure you run this rune page on your screen right now. Now in terms of your items, nothing has really changed here. With Blade of the Ruined King and Steel Caps and Shield Bow, the lifesteal, the attack speed, the sustain, it's all too much for so many top lane champions, and Aurelia against ranged champions, and we have a few on this countdown, does so well because of her amazing gap closing ability. So if we think of Kennen, Gnar, Vayne, Cassiopeia, Aurelia is the hardest counter, and to be honest, even against champions she doesn't do so well against, because she is so innately broken, she has to be on this countdown. But if you guys want to beat Aurelia in lane and pretty much any close range champion on the Rift, then picking Tahm Kench coming in at number 12 is for sure going to be one of the best choices. And the reason I love this setup showing on your screen now is because of the teleport and ignite. I know lots of Tahm Kenches are going flash, which does have its uses. You can flash Q, you can flash with an ally or enemy champion in your mouth and spit them in a more desired location, but the fact is you don't really need it. Because you're such a strong laner, ignite pretty much makes you impossible to even go near, and when you couple this with Frostfire Gauntlet, Steel Caps and Thornmail, it makes you an extremely hard matchup for pretty much anyone. Even though Frostfire did get nerfed, so the Snowbind passive, the damage is not scaling off any of your HP, but it's still 2800 gold, which is extremely cheap for a mythic item, and this just accelerates your already strong scaling. And let's be honest about this, who really thinks Tahm Kench isn't broken? But one champion I mentioned in the introduction who is still one of the most broken champions on the Rift is Camille. And even though Camille has been nerfed a few times recently, to be honest, it's still not enough. Grasp Camille with the passive, the shield, the hook shot, the ultimate, and of course the Cho'Gath ultimate in IQ when she gets Divine Sunderer, it's still too much for pretty much any champion in the top lane. Even though she does have some tricky matchups, so Jax and Fiora for example, whenever you're playing against Camille, it's just the fact that you have to play pretty much perfectly to even give yourself a chance of winning lane and winning the game. And after you get your Divine Sunderer and plated Steel Caps, getting Death Stance is actually a really underrated choice, and you can see that this has a 64% win rate. Now the reason for this is because most of the time in the top lane you are going to be going against AD champions. This just enhances the 1v1, and after this, then you can get Steris Gage or Guardian's Angel, by which point you should be able to end the game because you will be dealing so much damage with your precision protocol. But because some Camille players are going to be going Death Stance, this next champion coming in at number 10 is certainly a pick who can beat Camille really hard, and this is Teemo. And ever since Riot buffed your Qs, so the cooldown went from 8 seconds to 7 seconds, and the blind duration increased as well, Teemo has found even more success in the top lane. Now your rune page is very standard with press the attack, still an awesome keystone because it hasn't been nerfed and buffed all the time like Lethal Tempo and Conqueror. And as far as your build goes, when you have Berserker's Greaves, Nash's Tooth and then Riftmaker, and then you have Flash and Ignite, a bit like Tahm Kench, because you're running Ignite, your laning phase is so powerful and close to to impossible to actually overcome, and you still have the scaling to become an absolute beast in the late game. So against these popular melee champions in the top lane, in particular the auto attackers who are still trying to abuse lethal tempo, Teemo just completely overpowers them because of the blind, because he's a ranged champion and pretty hard to itemize against. And even though Shen, coming in at number 9, is a champion who Teemo completely dumpsters, it's just the fact that you don't really need to win lane on Shen to win the game. Even though you are a strong laner, especially against auto attackers like Tryndamere and Jax because of your W, the real power of Shen lies in his ultimate and his ability to get around the map. This is why we're running Ultimate Hunter in our runes, because it's going to reduce the Stand United cooldown, which is so essential, and because of this we do not need to run Teleport as one of our summoner spells. So Ignite gives us more pressure during the laning phase, and because of our taunt, once your jungler comes top, it's pretty much a free kill. Now as far as your items go, very standard here with Sunfire Aegis, because Frostfire has been nerfed and Turbo Chem Tank isn't what it was. This is by far the standout mythic, and then going Titanic Hydra, which gives us more dueling power and also gives us tankiness because it's giving us so much HP, which Sunfire also benefits, especially because of the new mythic passive, which is giving you HP for each major item you have. So Shen is a super consistent top laner for 1124B, but maybe one champion who has more carry potential than top lane is coming in at number 8, and this is Susan, who is still one of the premier picks in the top lane, and that's all because of how good Divine Sunderer is. This item has not been touched for so long, and is one of the reasons why Nasus and Camille are in such strong positions still. Now as far as your runes go, you're still going Fleet Footwork, which is giving you the sustain you need during the laning phase, and also the movement speed in the late game to speed you up towards your enemies so they will never be able to escape. And as far as your items, cooldown boots, because your abilities are pretty much everything on Nasus, these are essential, and then following Divine Sunderer with Gargoyle Stoneplate makes you close to unkillable. Now as far as your summoner spells, yes you can go Flash and TP, but I'm going to recommend Flash and Ghost, because once the laning phase ends, Ghost becomes so powerful on Nasus, and when you pair this with your Wither and Fleet Footwork, there is no one who can stand up to you and fight you one-on-one. And it's also useful if you do want a team fight, because it's giving you the movement speed, so hopefully the enemy team won't kite you around like crazy. But following Nasus, we have an even stronger Divine Sunderer abuser, and this is Trundle. And I don't think anyone is really going to contest this. Trundle with lethal tempo is an absolute weapon. But what's even better on the troll is actually going Trinity Force. This just has more snowballing potential than Divine Sunderer, and it's really because of the attack speed here. It works so well with lethal tempo, so you can stack this a lot quicker and get to the extra range quicker than anyone. Also, because Riot made Trinity Force a better split pushing item, because Trundle is all about that 1v1, it makes you a massive threat in the side lane. And a bit like Tahm Kench as far as your summoner spells go, taking Teleport with Ignite, because you don't really need Flash. You should have all the movement speed you need from your W and Trinity Force, and also the CC from your Pillar and your Q. This is all obviously to try to improve your 1v1 as much as possible, so make sure when the mid to late game does roll around, you are in the side lane and dominating. Now coming in ahead of Trundle, we have the only top laner getting nerfed for 1124B, and this is Dr. Mundo, who at the moment in 1124 has the highest win rate out of any top laner. So what Riot are doing next patch, they are decreasing your HP regen by 1.5, and also decreasing your Q's minimum damage from rank 2 onwards. Now these nerfs aren't going to make or break Mundo, because you will still have enough sustain from your passive, D-Shield and second wind to be able to sustain during the laning phase, and even though your Q is getting nerfed and this is the ability we want to be maxing first, it's not like the damage is going down 100. It's still all there, and with this setup on your screen now, so Grass the Undying, and then Frostfire, Plated Steel Caps and Thornmail, your laning phase is still going to be very strong, and you're scaling because you are such an insane mid to late game champion, it's not going anywhere. So there's no reason to panic if you are a Mundo main, you can still abuse him in 1124B. And another champion you can keep on abusing next patch, this is Jax starting off the top 5, and there's no real surprise here. Just like Trundle, Jax with lethal tempo and then Teleport and Ignite, you can see that in high reloads this has close to a 60% win rate. Yes, your flash is useful in terms of using it with your trinket and also gap closing to your opponent, but what would you rather have? A 5-minute cooldown that might save you and land you 1 or 2 more kills, or a 3-minute cooldown that is going to improve your laning phase and send your kill pressure through the roof? Now as far as your items go, after Divine Sunder and Plated Steel Caps, Blade of the Ruined King just completes your core item, and this is essential because attack speed is such a core stat on Jax, and most champions you're going to play against in the top lane are going to have HP in their kit and from their items. So this just makes it a really good tank shredding item. But one champion who has something to say about Jax being broken, this is Akshan coming in at number 4. And Akshan in the top lane, I know it sounds a little weird, but just look at these numbers. A 62% win rate in high reloads, and when you have Shield Bow and Wit's End, look at it. From 14 matches, it's close to 80%. Now I know it's not the biggest sample space, but it does tell us something, that this champion really works. If you look in the top right as well in terms of summoner spells, with Flash and TP, you don't even need Ignite to have close to a 54% win rate. And what's interesting here that Akshan's in the top lane are maxing their Q first. So instead of maxing your E, you're maxing your Q because it's giving you a lot better poke during the lane, and against these melee champions it can be really oppressive and pretty much impossible to actually sustain your harass. And kind of the same idea for the champion taking the bronze medal on this countdown, and this is Quinn. With Press the Attack just like Akshan, it's a really annoying champion to play against. I mean, anyone who has played against a Quinn probably wants to pull their hair out. Now in terms of your summoner spells, because your ultimate gives you amazing mobility around the map, we don't really need TP, so taking exhaust pretty much cements that 1v1 victory. Now we're still maxing W, even though this got nerfed, the attack speed at later levels, it's still definitely worth it because we are all about auto-attacking our opponents. And just like Akshan going shield bow with 10, but Berserker's Greaves instead, because again we want the attack speed, and we don't really need any defense because of our E. Our Bolt, it's such a good disengage tool and will always keep you safe against enemy champions diving onto you. But one champion Quinn might struggle against, especially in the mid to late game, this is Kayle coming in at number 2, and ever since Riot buffed lethal tempo in 11.24 for ranged champions, so you're getting more attack speed 2%, and even though you're getting less range, it's just the fact you're getting more attack speed on an attack speed based champion. This makes it extremely scary once you get your Nash's Tooth, and once you finish Riftmaker that's going to enhance your trading potential, it's really difficult to even get close to a Kayle, let alone beat her in a 1v1. But one champion who can beat the rest of the 14 on this countdown is coming in at number 1 of course, and this is Urgot. And Urgot means that we have 3 press the attack users in the top 4, but Urgot is a little different because we're not getting a mythic item as our core item. So we're getting Titanic Hydra and then Black Cleaver. Now you might be like, why on earth would you do this? Well, this is because Titanic Hydra's cleave passive is essential for Urgot. This is why we're still maxing our W, our Purge, because our W blocks the cleave passive from Titanic Hydra. Then once you get Black Cleaver, which is giving you an absurd amount of HP, with Titanic's passive that is converting that HP into bonus AD, you will be shredding absolutely everyone. So those are the 15 best top laners, guys, for 11.24B. Let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anyone on the countdown, and if you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like down below, and also make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future daily uploads. And this has been Eeks, all the cheers, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.